Hey guys, this is Ameritrash telemarketer, and this video is going to be a comparison between the Petzl Whisper, which is right here, and the Blue Ice Choucas or Choucas Pro. And we're going to be looking at this. Well, a little bit of backstory is I'm a sucker for new gear and new tech, and I've always climbed in Petzl harnesses, so I'm kind of brand loyal to Petzl, with the exception of this black diamond harness, which I used for ice climbing for many, many years. But I decided this year, with tech being what it was, I was going to try to upgrade my ice climbing harness and go to try using the Petzl Whisper. So this season, I've been ice climbing with the Petzl Whisper, and I've really liked it a lot. I think it's a great, really awesome harness. But coming from the harness that I was in, I forgot what Black Diamond called this harness back in the day, but it was a harness specifically designed for ice climbing. And you can see that I would use 3 ice clippers, which made me look kind of like a tool, maybe. But, and you know, granted, listen, as you're listening to this video, I lead like waterfall 4 on a good year, maybe 4 plus. I'm not a waterfall 5 leader. But I really enjoy ice climbing, and I do it year after year, and I really enjoy climbing like 3 plus, 4 minus multi-pitch ice. I think it's a blast. So at any rate, for a long time, I used to use 3 clippers on each side. The reason why I did this is because I would rack the screws I would use most, which would be like my golds and my blues, up front. And then my longer screws for the anchors and also my stubbies I would keep on the secondary clippers. And then I would leave these third clippers free because either I would use put my longest screws back there, or I loved having these for my tools. So if I had to walk off a climb or whatever, I would clip my tools to my back clippers. And so that's why I had all these clippers. Problems is it does kind of, you know, it makes leaning against things. So if you're like chimneying, like having 3 clippers on each side can be pretty awkward. And at the time, the clippers were a little smaller. These got bigger. This is like the 2nd generation Black Diamond clipper. But anyway, that's what I came from. And there's really nothing wrong with this harness. I just kind of decided that I wanted to upgrade. So this year I picked up the Whisper because for a long time I didn't upgrade my harness when Petzl came out with the I forgot the Sitta. When they came out with the Sitta, which was like, you know, all the guides, everybody was getting the Sitta, everybody loved it. I was like, dude, that harness is too expensive. I'm just gonna, you know, stick with the Sama, which is what I climbed with for a long time. And I kind of view harnesses as a little bit like expendable in the rock world because of chimneying and things. So, you know, you go out to the creek, you get a brand new harness, you're going to wear holes in it. So, you know, having a $200 harness seemed a little excessive to me. And at any rate, so this year I got the Sitta, which is another video, and I might compare the Whisper to the Sitta, which I'm sure a lot of people would like to know. But I got the Whisper, and I climbed ice in it, and I loved it. It packs down really small in my pack. It's super light. It's very comfortable. I mean, I can't tell that it's an ultralight harness when I'm rappelling. And it's also got really big, really big gear loops, like full-size gear loops. Like you could rack, you know, easily a triple rack off of this. And you know, where it counts, like it's really well enforced around the tie-in points. So, I mean, even though this harness is ultra light, I think Petzl made a product that's going to last quite a long time. I mean, never mind, this is Dyneema, so never mind like the Whisper thing kind of falls off because it's impossible to dye Dyneema. You know, and it's even got a little 5th gear loop. So, you know, you got full-size racking options here, but you only have room for 1 clipper. And that was one of the things that I was kind of like bummed about because I'm used to having 6 clippers, which you can call me a tool or say it's overkill, but that's what I'm used to. So I was like, well, you know, maybe I just need to try something new and evolve with the times. And so what I did this season is if I needed to attach my tools to my harness, I would just use like this, the Choucas I've got set up for, you know, my bare minimum ice climbing load. I would just take some of my little lockers, which are right here, and I would use that, you know, like a little locking carabiner, and I'd clip that through the head of the tool and then clip those to my harness. But it's nowhere near as convenient as being able to just take your tool and clip it to your clippers. So I kind of missed that. And this year I upgraded my screws, and so to Blue Ice arrows, just the steel ones, and that's going to be another video. But in the process, I was looking through Blue Ice's website, and you know, I've been climbing like 25 years now, and I'm pretty brand loyal to Petzl for harnesses, so I don't always look at other companies and what they're doing. And you know, I was so impressed with their screws. I'm like, I got to pay more attention to Blue Ice. And I saw the Choucas, and I'm like, wait a second, like this harness, the Choucas for just ice climbing, looks like a superior harness to the Whisper. It's, you know, I looked it up earlier. The large, you know, the similar size, apples to apples. I think the Choucas is like 30 or 40 grams lighter actually than the Whisper, which is, you know. And let's give the Whisper some credit, right? The Whisper, I would say, is more of an all-around harness. It's not specifically designed for ice climbing. It's designed as a general use harness and to be as light as possible. So whereas the Choucas, I think, is designed much more laser focused on ice climbing and also general mountaineering, and really I don't think is a good rock climbing harness, and I'll tell you why in a second. So I picked up the Choucas, and the reason why I did was because Blue Ice patented this system, and I'll show you here. It's a way that you can don the harness and take the harness off while keeping your boots on, or your crampons on for that matter. So you see this little attachment system here, it makes the leg loops come undone. And that's just so cool, because traditionally when I ice climb, the way I handle this is that my harness goes on before my crampons, and it stays on until after my crampons come off. But there's a lot of times where that may not be the best way to do it. Like, for instance, if the ice climb is running and you want to put Gore-Tex pants on, you know, it can be, the way I would handle that, or puffy pants before, is I would a lot of the times just keep the harness underneath. But, you know, this allows me to keep my crampons and my boots on. And then I was like, that's super cool. And it has 2 ice clipper slots. Now, I don't have both clippers attached, and one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video is that if you're looking at these 2 harnesses, to understand that, you know, on paper they're similar, but they're actually quite different, and there's some just design differences. So the clippers, if you're used to Petzl clippers, I would say they would sit more on towards the front. Like, if, you know, I feel like the Petzl gear loops come a little bit more forward, but at any rate, these clippers sit pretty far back if you look at my harness here. And the secondary clippers actually are, try to find the slot, but very close to the first clipper, so they sit back here. Now, before I bought this harness in the store, I tried to clip screws on both with both the clippers installed, and I found that it works just the way they hang. So I was like, this is going to be great, because now I can go back to having, you know, 4 clippers, and so that the fact that it could have 4 clippers total, but unfortunately the website doesn't show the clippers installed, and the fact that I can take this harness on and off while wearing crampons, and that it's super light, I was like, hey, you know, I think I really want to try this harness. And so I bought it, and, you know, I nerd out on gear. I was looking at it today, and what I didn't realize when I bought it was just how small the gear loops are. So when you compare the gear loops on the Whisper, which like you could easily put a quad rack on that for rock climbing, you can fit a lot of stuff on there, and I like that. But with this, they're nowhere near as big. They're actually quite small gear loops. You know, you've only got this much here, and then look at this other small. You know, they're small. Now, for ice climbing, pure ice climbing, not mixed climbing, I'd say that's okay, because when I'm ice climbing, they say you should only carry 10 screws, but realistically, if I'm climbing multi-pitch, I usually carry 12, and if it's hard, maybe as many as 18 screws. Call me a wanker, but that's what I do. My reasoning is that, that's 2 at each anchor, so that eats up 4. So there you have it. And then, if I'm running out a 70-meter rope, then, I'll easily place 10 to 12 to possibly 14 screws. And then anyway, so I kind of rack heavy, but even if I were doing that, I can still fit that many screws, that many draws, and anchor building material for a day of pure ice. But I would say if you're someone who is going to be looking more on the mixed side and you want more of an all-around harness, I still think the Whisper is a really big contender because of the gear loops. So these harnesses are very similar. I would say if you're looking for a fully featured mountaineering harness, now granted the Choucas Pro is not going to be as light or compact as like, a Fly, or I use for mountaineering, like Mount Rainier, I use a Black Diamond Couleur harness, which is a much different harness. It doesn't have 4 gear loops. It's really just designed for glacier travel, and I would say probably still stick to a harness like that if you're like ski mountaineering and you're just looking for glacier travel. But the Choucas Pro is actually, like, I would say, a fully featured harness that is just absolutely perfect for pure ice. And I'm going to start trying this out and see how I like it, and for my ice climbing days. But if I were going to be climbing a mixed route where I needed to, say, carry, a bunch of pitons and so like a single or double rack, or, just a bunch of rock gear in addition to maybe like 10 screws, then I would say, probably the Whisper might actually be the better harness because just of the gear loop situation. But the ability to don the harness on and off while having crampons, that's a big advantage, and 4 ice clipper slots is also a big advantage over the Whisper. So, and also the weight. And one more thing, the Choucas is, retail, I think the Choucas is $130 and the Whisper is $200. So you're looking at, a $70, which is almost a 50% difference in price compared, if you compare these 2 harnesses. So hopefully this helps if you're a gear nerd and you're trying to decide on like what the best ultralight ice climbing harness is going to be for you. I think either harness is a great harness, but again, last thing about the Whisper is that, if you're looking for a harness that you can climb rock in, but also do some ice, but also is kind of like the cutting edge of performance, I would say that's going to be the Whisper. And then if you're looking for an ultralight, fully featured ice-specific harness, or maybe just general mountaineering, because I think the Choucas could fit that, but I also think you could go a little bit lighter for general mountaineering, where all you're going to be doing is like rappelling, ski mountaineering, or glacier travel, where you're really using the harness as an emergency or to rappel on skinny ropes, and you're not bringing a lot of gear. Then maybe a more ski specific or a mountaineering specific harness. But for vertical ice, I think the Choucas is a home run. So thank you very much, and have fun out there, guys, and be safe. Thanks.